the fact that there is absolutely no truth coming from the mainstream press, given the fact that the MSM are doing their best to foment, encourage, and underpin a full communist takeover. And ladies and gentlemen, when I say communist, I'm not just a throwback to the early 50s and 60s. I'm talking about the Luciferian language of rebellion. Communism appeals to Lucifer because he is the one that initiated the first rebellion in heaven. And so now we're at this point, Doug, where things are absolutely, there's no word, even exploding out of control is an understatement. When I made the statement that, after Branson, this is to put people's perspective back into a year ago, the word normal would never be used again, and nothing that you've known as normal will remain. Well, you may remain in your same house with the same mortgage. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the way you interrelate with life and the way that life is going to come against you. And so what Bob and I think we were going to talk to Bob about, was it not that people need to either decide what they're going to do now and do it? Because if the time period they had was this, let's just say this quarter of a century ago, and now it's this and this and this and this and this, what happens when your fingers come together indicating there's no more time? And, even the angels of heaven say, and the mystery of time will be no more. So, Bob, as you have related to people who are calling you, and there, I would guess your level of concern is heightened this year versus last year. Is that true?
Dramatically. Steve, when you said that normal would be no more, I grew up on a Navy SEAL base, and the saying was the only easy day was yesterday. And I think I mentioned this to you one time.
Yeah, that's great.
The Lord said to me, the only normal day was yesterday. So normal is in the rearview mirror. And every day, any sort of normalcy becomes further and further in the distance as we watch this Luciferian take over the United States. And we watch that the pulpits in America are quiet. Most Christians don't want to talk about it for fear of loss of reputation or job or whatever. And so we are just watching this, us being swallowed by this great evil that has taken over our land. And as I've said, in people who doubt, concentration camps or doubt what would happen to people that go there, all you have to do is look and ask the question, if I can take a baby that is alive out of a womb that's breathing and kill it, to dissect it, to take its baby parts, its liver, its heart, kidneys, there is nothing that I will not do. There is no level of depravity that I will not engage in. And again, from what I've read of the Luciferian elite in this country, what they do to little children, I would not even speak. It's not just sexual. It's just, it's terrorizing them of just, peeling their skin type thing off of them for torment so they can get the adrenochrome. We have no idea the level of this depravity.
Well, and that's the thing too, Doug. Here's the deal. We're watching, if you will, and I don't know what to call it, Bob. Maybe you can, but as the threat increases and the revelations of how evil they are and what they'll do to those little people, they'll do to us big people, why is it that I'm almost saying it's almost inversely proportional? Inversely proportional to the truth presented is the denial thereof? Is it that the comfort? Seriously, that's a great question.
I think it is, Steve. And what I mentioned with Doug earlier is the fact that we've all seen these videos of people that work in slaughterhouses, and a certain amount of these people just are not there anymore just to slaughter the animals for food. They derive pleasure from absolute butchery of these animals, of torture, and you can see there's videos that have come out. So this is what these people will do. It's not just putting us in a concentration camp or detainment center. Their absolute depravity of their heart will be worked out towards those they disagree with. And I mean things you can't even conceive. So we're at that moment now. Steve, I just say this, just using California as an example to give you an idea. The 3 C's of military doctrine: command, control, and communication. So here we have in California, they made the most draconian firearms laws available. In the United States. They are basically saying you can't have a firearm. or if you can, you can't buy ammunition, you can't get new guns, you can't do this, you can't have large capacity magazines. And then at the same time, they have taken down any repeater, they're taking them down, which gives the ability of communication over a large portion of property. So they have taken the control and the communication away, and if you take those away, you no longer can command. And so they understand that chain of way things work. And so we just see this starting in California, and as California goes, so goes the nation. The absolute taking away our ability to control our destiny and the ability to network with people who are like-minded. And in the process of that, they are doing it so they can control us and command us.
What are some basics, Bob, that we can cover today for just that are not basic to us, but basic to people? You and I have done a lot of these shows over the years, but one of the things that, food and water and sanitation and those things are obvious, but what do you think the most non-obvious thing is? Do you think someone putting on a flashlight or walking with their curtains open? I mean, give some tactical and practical advice. Because, again, I just like, number one, you don't answer a knock on the door. And number two, you've got to strengthen the door so if someone tries to kick it in, they break their fist or their arm or their crowbar.
Yeah, it's so easy to do that, too. They make these door bars now that you can wedge down between the door handle and the thing. And it slows people down, because that's the point, is to slow them down from coming in, and that gives you the ability to get into a defensive posture. Steve, there's a thing that an Air Force colonel developed called OODA loop, OODA. You're probably familiar with it. Observe, yeah. Orient, decide, and act. The first two of those things are intelligence gathering. I observe, I orient. And it's just like if I drove up to Walmart and I saw one ambulance out there, I would think somebody had a heart attack. If I drove up to Walmart and saw 10 ambulances, 15 police cars, I'm going to think active shooter. And so as I look at the information, the raw information, raw intelligence, I make a interpretation of that to where I come up with a possibility of what's going on. And if we look at what we observe and orient to it today, we better be making good decisions and then acting on those decisions. Two things people don't do because they're afraid of. The one is the radio communication, which gives you network, which is one of the 3 C's of military doctrine, communication. You need to be able to talk with people. You're not going to be able to do this alone. You need to be able to network with people in your neighborhood, or your friends, your family, whoever, and make sure that you have a network communication. I've created what's called an area map, a communication area map, so I know how far my communications go. I know how far I can talk. If I need to relay something 10 miles away to somebody, that they can relay another 10 miles. But in doing that, we are so much stronger because we have people on our side that can aid us in any type of situation. If we fail to do that, as they say, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And so people try to usually avoid communication issues because there's a learning curve to it. Now, it can be as simple as getting just a shortwave radio. With shortwave radio, you can listen. That's all you can do. And intelligence gathering is 90% listening. Just if you were, let's say, a spy, and you go into a country, they don't want to hear, the people who hire you don't want to hear what you talk about. They want to hear what the other guy talks about. So you just say as little as you can and get the other guy talking. And so that is the way information is gathered, just a shortwave radio where you can listen to your area and find out what is going on in your area. That is so critical to do, because unless you have that information and orient to it, you can't decide and act properly. And then the next thing would be to be able to see at night. And this is what people avoid, and I understand it's expensive. But just the other night, we were out with some friends doing a night vision hike. And I couldn't see my hand in front of my face with my nonce flipped up. But as soon as I flipped them down, 200 or 300 yards was no problem. We actually have a range so we could shoot at night. And hitting a 200-yard target in pitch darkness is not hard to do. So it gives you the ability to defend yourself, because the zombies come out at night. That's a fact. They hide during the day and they come out at night. And so those are two things people really need to start considering. And radio communications is broad. So you can start off with just a receiver and then possibly move to where you have transceivers where you can talk to friends and family. And then, night vision is that thing that does get expensive. But to me, it's an indispensable piece of equipment. With a person equipped with night vision, I don't care how much food, firearms, water you have, the person equipped with night vision will take it all from you.